Hello students, welcome back in the third part of chapter number 8 of social science. The name of the chapter is The Glory of Bharatvarsha. Let's have a quick recap of previous session. In previous session, we learnt about the literature of ancient India, which is divided into three subheads: religious literature, non-religious literature, and description by foreign travelers. Religious literature covers the Vedas, Upanishad, epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are a triangular confluence of ancient Indian society, culture, and religion. We also learnt about Puranas, Buddhist texts, and Jain texts. In non religious literature, we learnt about poems, accolade, dramas, grammar, text, and smritis. We also learnt about inscriptions that inform about administration during that time and ethical rules followed. We learnt about the people who visited our country and wrote travelogues and gave a unique description of Indian social life, rulers, and culture of that time. Last but not the least, we learnt about how people found new land and sea routes for trading and the commodities exported and imported at that time. Now let's move ahead for next topic: paintings in ancient India. Paintings is an art form has flourished from early periods in India as an evidence from various epics, other sources, and archaeological surveys. Pictures are not only express the emotion of human beings but also portray the actual situation of that time. The oldest paintings were found in Neolithic era. Natural caves and smaller shelters in India very often contain prehistoric paintings. 500 paintings of Neolithic age have been found at Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh. It is a home to the oldest known art by humans. Bagh caves and Amravati associated with Indian culture have been found. Bagh caves are a group of 9 rock-cut monuments situated among the southern slopes of the Vindhyas in Bagh town. Paintings of Ajanta Ellora depicting Buddha's Jatak stories of Buddha's sadhana are found in large number. They depict the past life and rebirths of Buddha, pictorial tales, and rock-cut sculptures of Buddhist deities. Padmapani is jewel of Indian culture. It literally translates into one who holds the lotus. Shiva temple of Ellora caves is carved out of a single massive rock and is the largest of 34 Buddhist, Jain and Hindu caves, temples and monasteries. Let's move ahead to architecture of ancient India. Town planning of Harappan civilization proves that they lived a highly civilized and developed life. They had planned cities with scientific drainage system, uniformity in baths, granaries, industrial units, and rainwater harvesting are the best examples of engineering of ancient India. It includes cave architecture, temple architecture, and architecture of places. Cave architecture is also called rock cut architecture. It includes hills of Barabar, Nasik Hills, Ajanta Ellora, and Amravati. Now let's explore sculpture of ancient India. Art is not what you see, but you make others see. Art of making idols was fully developed in ancient India. Two art styles prevailed during that time: Gandhar art, the confluence of the Greek and Indian style; Mathura art, it is a completely Indian style of art. Now let's study in detail about Gandhar art and Mathura art. Let's start with Gandhar art first. Gandhar artists created numerous statues of the Buddha in a relatively naturalistic fashion. Many artifacts have been found in Takshila and Gandhar in Afghanistan in northwestern India. Buddha statues were made in large number. Buddha statues have been found in Bamiyan and Charsoda in this style. These caves were originally used by Buddhist monks for meditation and retreats. Next is Mathura art. Mathura art was the style of Buddhist visual art that flourished in the trading and pilgrimage centers of Mathura. It was completely Indian style of art in which Buddha statues as well as idols of Hindu deities were made. Specimens of sculptures have in Mathura art have been found from Amravati, Ajanta, Nasik and Sarnath. Now moving ahead to stupas and viharas, which was part of the Buddhist architecture. Stupa is a small dome-shaped architecture in the middle of which the relics were buried and the Buddhists practiced meditation there, whereas viharas were the ancient Indian term for Buddhist monastery that were originally constructed to shelter the monks during rainy season when it became difficult for them to lead a wanderer's life. Buddhism architecture includes stupas, chaityas and viharas. The monumental construction of life of Buddha began in the form of stupas. They were made first time during Vajji Union. Stupas were constructed in large number. Ashoka's Sanchi Stupa, which is known for its 4 lions standing back to back. Stupa of Lumbini, which remains an important place of pilgrimage, and Stupa of Sarnath, which is said to be the place where Lord Buddha gave his first sermons to the 5 deities, are very famous. Kings of Shung dynasty constructed wooden work around stupas. Kanishka got a huge stupa constructed in Purushpur called Shaji Ki Deri. Path around the stupas is constructed for pradakshina. Chaityas are a major center of Buddhist art. In chaityas, columns, doors, huge prayer halls were carved and given shape of a temple. Chaityas of Amravati, Bhaj and Karla are world famous as they consist of an apsidal hall stupa. The columns slope inwards in the imitation of wooden columns that would have been structurally necessary to keep the roof up. Chaityas of Amravati, Bhaj and Karla are world famous. Jain and Buddhist monks studied in viharas. Huinsang wrote about hundreds of viharas in North India and Gujarat. Statues of Gomteshwar in Shravan Belgoda is associated with Jain architecture and is world famous. It is the tallest monolithic statue in the world carved out of a single block of granite. A number of caves are located in Gujarat. Khambalidha caves. These caves are situated at the foot of small hillocks on the banks of Spirits. They are carved out of limestone rocks. Dhang caves in Rajkot. They were cut out of calcareous sandstone, outcropping during the region of the western Satras. The caves are influenced by Buddhist and Jain cultures. Uparkot caves in Junagadh are ancient man-made caves that were used as monk quarters. Khaprakodia caves are the plainest and oldest of all caves in the group, and Bawa caves in Junagadh, which are also known as Bawa Pyara caves, contain artworks of both Buddhism and Jainism. Talaja caves in Bhavnagar are rock cuts and carved into deserted conical rocks. Sana caves in Gir Somnath is a group of 62 Buddhist rock shelters that have been carved out of soft rock. Now let's move ahead to education in India or heritage in education. When we look into the civilizations that existed in ancient India and the way they lived, it seems the higher education and technical education has been imparted in India since 4000 years. Educational institution remains have been found in Mohenjo-daro. It is called Bronze Civilization due to knowledge of bronze technology. Chemistry, civil engineering, and mechanical engineering were prevalent in India since the time of Harappan culture. All these can be seen in the way forts, houses, baths, and roads were made. Secondly, the development of textile and shipping also makes the information relevant. Elements of religious training and imparting of traditional knowledge was done by sages and scholars orally. The remains of Vidyapiths have been found. In ancient India, both formal and informal ways of education existed. Takshila near Gandhar region was a great educational pilgrimage that taught ethics, Sanskrit, grammar, astronomy and astrology, Hinduism and philosophy. Great philosophers like Panini, Chanakya, Chandragupta, Jivak had become renowned from these educational institutions. A Buddhist center of learning, the famous education institution in Bihar was Nalanda University that attracted scholars and students from as far as China, Greek and Persia. A great Vidyapith was there in Vallabhi of Gujarat in 6th or 7th century. Huyen Sang has written about this university in his travelogue. The system of admission in this university during ancient time consisted of entrance exam, written examination and then interview. That means modern educational system was prevalent at that time also. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism along with meditation, astrology and astronomy were taught. In Bengal, two Vidyapiths existed, namely Vikramshila and Odantapuri, where a large storied library of Buddhism was built. Vikramshila was one of the largest Buddhist university and is known to us mainly through Tibetan sources. Odantapuri was a Buddhist Mahavira in what is now Bihar. It served as a model and inspiration for Tibetan Buddhist. Now let's move ahead to coins. Ancient Indians were the earliest issuers of coins in the world along with the Chinese and people from Middle East. Coins represent prosperity of India in past. Oldest coins are known as punchmark coins of 5th century BC. Indo-Greek rulers introduced special kind of gold coin with king's mark, his photo and time of that era. Samudragupta's coin with him playing veena and killing lion. Chandragupta with his picture along with queen and Garuda. Chandragupta II, which is also known as Vikramaditya coins, seeing Vikram and Garud, flag coins have been found in large numbers. They give information about India's prosperity as they are mostly made of gold. India's great cultural heritage is unique throughout the world. So here I conclude the session as well as the chapter. If you have any queries regarding the chapter, ask in interactive query session. Till then, bye-bye. Take care.